Hello everyone, welcome to our today's video. So in continuation to our last video where we talked about cost planning, first and the second process, and we understood that cost management plan is a set of guidelines and costs estimate activity cost is about determining or estimating how much each activity is going to cost. Now we are here to discuss the third step in this section, which is to determine budget. Theoretically speaking, there isn't a lot to discuss here. It is simply an action of aggregating the various costs that we have estimated in step number 2 and simply, like I said, aggregating. So determine budget is where we are required to sum up all the estimated cost, and arrive at a final budget that we are seeking an approval on. So let's say, for example, we estimated all the work package cost and it comes out as 800,000. Now, of course, we would have also we haven't discussed it, but at some point or parallelly to this, we are also assessing risks, and there will be some known risks which can happen during the project, and for those we might be keeping a certain amount of money, say for example 200,000 in this case. Now, of course, this is an amount which is not just taken as a percentage, but there is a proper calculation that would have happened as part of your risk planning. So this is the amount of money which we are keeping aside for known risks, and we like to call this as our contingency reserve. So with this, our total requirement or the amount of money that we are seeking for this project comes out to be 1 million. However, the management, as in the sponsors or the senior leadership, may add another amount here just in case there is some unknown risk, or there are some uncertainties that we haven't been able to see yet. So they want some kind of buffer to cover that also. So now the total amount of money that will be kept aside for the project stands at 1.1 million. However, let's quickly understand that this amount, which is $100,000 kept for unknown risks, this is known as management reserve, and usually project managers don't even know how much this is, and they don't have the authority to utilize this on their own. And depending upon the risk profile of the project, this is purely a percentage, I will say, because it's kept for unknowns. So we don't know what kind of risks may be waiting to happen that we haven't been able to foresee yet. So in that respect, this amount, 1 million, this is the amount which your project manager is going to get to spend on the project, and this becomes the cost baseline. Of course, not just the million, but we'll talk about more about that. So this amount technically is known as budget at completion, BAC, whereas the total amount of money which has been kept aside for the project, like including the management reserve, this amount is what we refer to as project budget. It's just to differentiate the two figures, that the total amount of money kept aside is 1.1, which we are referring to as project budget. However, out of this 1.1, project manager gets 1 million to spend. So that 1 million is called as budget at completion, which becomes the basis of the performance assessment for the project and the project manager. Now, let's suppose that management is okay with this 1 million figure that we are asking for. However, no one will give you the entire sum on day one of the project. So the management will definitely want to know that how much money do you need every period of time. To arrive at that, we simply have to prepare a chart where on my x-axis I have time, and on my y-axis I am plotting cumulative cost. Now you already have your schedule, you know how much you are estimating for each activity, so plotting this should not be a challenge. Just the two data points that you need, you already have them. So you know how many activities are scheduled on day one, say for example 3 activities, and those 3 activities have been estimated to cost you $500. And then similarly you can do it for day 2, day 3, day 4. And when you plot, this chart should come out in this shape. So that's why it's called as S curve. And the reason is because in the starting you are not really going to spend a lot of money, because the starting of the project is more about organizing, planning, building your team. The actual work happens in the middle, where you can see there is a steep increase in the amount of money required, and then towards the end the line flattens out, simply because it's time for closing the project, handovers, transitions. So again, you don't need a lot of money in that period of the project, and that's why the line flattens out. Now, using this chart, I can easily determine that how much money do I need in one period of time. So let's say if I'm trying to come up with my monthly or quarterly projections, I know that this is the amount of money I need in first quarter, this is the amount of money I need in second quarter, this is the amount of money needed in third quarter, fourth quarter, fifth quarter, sixth quarter. So Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5. I think I counted wrong. So yeah, this is the amount of money required for first, second, third, fourth, and fifth quarter. However, that being said, it's possible that your sponsor doesn't agree with this particular arrangement. Like, they might say that they don't have enough money in quarter 3. They can't provide you all the money that you're asking for in quarter 3 or in quarter 4 or in any quarter for that matter. This is called as funding limit, that many a times sponsors may impose funding limit, that they can't give you more than a certain amount of money in a selected period of time. So you have to take that feedback, go back to your drawing board, adjust some of the activities, maybe move some of the activities back and forth, make sure that your periodic funding requirement doesn't exceed the funding limits imposed by the sponsors. And after doing the adjustments, you might have to redo the whole graph. And let's say this time the chart looks something like this. And hopefully this time you should get the approval, and the moment this chart is approved, you can call this as your cost baseline. But remember that this baseline is of 1 million, not 1.1 million. That 1.1 million will be above this part here. So this could be your mark of 1.1 million, which is the project budget, and this part here is your budget at completion. And like I said, this is the cost baseline, time phased expected expenditure, the S curve, which will be used as your basis for performance measurement. So yes, that's how we go about determining the budget, and these are the key terms and the key things that we have to keep in mind. Once done, we should be able to baseline the cost, schedule, and other scope as well, and move forward from there. Any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments section. That would be all for this video. I hope this step was clear. Thank you for watching. Take care. See you next time.